they went to the Queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
He took the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode, a Thursday special edition of the Peasants Perspective.
Yes.
Glad to have you here. Fraser Mornewing, glad to have you. Shantini, good morning. Fraser, LOL. First, good morning from Boise. Yes, and it's feeling like Boise here today. It was like 31 degrees this morning. It was really cold. I almost slipped down the stairs walking out to my car. Carlitz, Grand Rising. Peasants Perspective. That's you, Ron. Too fast on the trigger. Ron was too busy hitting live stream in order to get the first chat in. PB Brown Scouts, day 2. Welcome. Woo. Love to have you here on the live show. Peasants Perspective. That's you again, Ron. I just sometimes skip over you. Shantini, haha, you cheated. You just said good morning and just said good morning. No, he didn't say morning. He said morning.
Shantini definitely won.
Yeah. Pony Boy, good morning. Douglas Wyatt, good morning, peasants. Pony Boy, Fraser, quick with it. Doug, I was thinking about one of your great quotes to this morning. I thought, kill him with kindness. Kill him with kindness. Sometimes that's all you can do is kill him with kindness. Pony Bay, Fraser, quick with it. Pony Boy, I'm slacking. Man, you guys are just going and going in this morning. Well, while you guys keep chatting, and then I'll come back and read some more, let's go ahead and start out with the simultaneous sip. I know why you're here. You're here for the simultaneous sip, and all you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind, and fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the day, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now.
We had 2 great elections. We had 3. Because 2020 was equally good, but they cheated. Millions of votes. Dirty cheats. Dirty, rotten cheaters. Which was the
Dirty, rotten cheaters.
I guess I laughed at the right time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's audio going on here. Oh, man. So let's talk just a little bit about the election stuff, because stuff happened. Stuff happened today, this morning, over in Europe. It's daylight over there right now. Yeah, stuff happened, and we had stuff happen over the last week and a half or 2. James O'Keefe has been releasing a video every day showing election fraud on the streets of California, right? He went down to Skid Row and saw them forging signatures. He had one guy who he was showing, and it was like, yeah, just write this guy's name. So they got some homeless guy to write some other guy's name on the thing so that it could be a real signature for a person, you know?
Okay.
And it's like, dude, it's like blatant cheating. All right. So he was on with Benny Johnson, James O'Keefe, talking about accountability, because James is like, we are going to see arrests. I am tired of doing these undercover stings and nothing happening.
Right.
So
this is his mission, to get an arrest
We're
happening.
going to release a video every day. We're going to push it out through all of our networks until something happens. Well, guess what? Momentum is happening.
Measure by acclamation the most important thing that we've ever done. Now, I told you I was going to release a tape every day until someone's arrested, and I will continue to do that. It upsets me, by the way, I'm not going to mention any names, but major media organizations are afraid to cover this because it's an election fraud topic, and they don't want to get sued. But this is different because the crime is on tape. I've heard back from the FBI, the DOJ, Governor Newsom. He did not attack me. He said they should arrest these people. The LA District Attorney, the LAPD, and the California Secretary of State are all investigating this.
The president has also posted about it. And I guess this is great. You have a comment and statement from the White House here. But what does it matter unless somebody goes to jail?
Correct. Nothing matters unless someone goes to jail. So we have to figure out how to make that happen. And the only way that I can see it happening is if we just keep releasing more evidence of crimes on tape. I think someone will go to jail. I think one of the challenges the state authorities are having just so that your audience understands, and I didn't fully understand this, is that if they go in and arrest people right now, they're not going to maybe not be able to turn those people into like confidential informants against the higher ups. So we can, I think people can be arrested tomorrow. It's just a question of, we want to know who's behind.
No, it's easy. Just arrest them and tell them they're going to get life sentences for treason. And say, and if you don't tell us who told you to do this, and then arrest that person and say, oh, and you're going to get a life sentence for treason. And if you don't do that, then arrest the next person and say, if you don't tell us, you're going to get a life sentence for treason.
Right.
I mean, they charged the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers with sedition.
Right.
Same thing. Why not? Enrique Ontario, 22 years. He was sitting in a hotel.
Nothing stopped him.
Yeah, he was sitting in a hotel, and you've got the camera on the screen still.
Sorry.
He was sitting in a hotel in Baltimore when J6 happened. Wasn't even there, but he organized it. He's one of the planners. Sedition, 22 years. Go for it. They'll flip. So I don't really buy it. Oh, we're just going to let the scam continue because we want to. How do you flip someone if it's continuing? I don't get it. I guess maybe I've watched too much 1980s cop shows where it's like you go best the little guy and you squeeze him in the investigation room. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, we're just going to let it keep happening.
Too
we're
much
just
good
going to
cop,
hope.
bad cop.
Yeah, but either way, James O'Keefe is continuing his investigation.
Behind it. So my team is currently in the field finding out who's behind it. We even, Benny, went into the homes of one of the bad guys. They let us in, and they were kind of flipping on their bosses. So we, the citizen journalists, are kind of doing the job of the FBI. I mean, this is what really the billion-dollar Leviathan should be doing. And I think that's a sign of the time, really, is what it is. This is why it requires small, independent, no red tape citizen journalists to do the job. But I'm frustrated. Like we're getting punched in the neck. We're my team, they're here. Andrew's a hero. Cam Higby's a hero. He had pepper spray to make sure I wasn't killed, but we're risking our lives to do this. And the only thing we ask is that somebody be arrested and that the billion-dollar media corporations take a risk and put it on the air, because we're taking the risk. So I'm a little bit frustrated here, but I'm going to keep fighting like hell and keep releasing a tape every day.
Yeah, and I am fully supportive of him. So huge shout out to James O'Keefe. That guy, when he says the price is my life, he means it. And he's been arrested. He's sat in a jail cell. He's had his house raided for no reason. He's had a FOIA for the warrant on his house with every single line blacked out from top to bottom. The whole thing, which makes you just go, what?
And then he uses an interesting phrase, sign of the times. Okay.
Sign of the times. Yeah. Here's the sign of the times. He mentions the major media corporations won't cover this because it's election. And if you don't understand the media, their whole job is to keep all of us going to the grocery store, going to Target, buying your LGBT outfits and your chest binders for your little boys and your girls, you know what I mean? And the little tuck straps.
Well, it's to keep us complacent.
It's to keep you complacent. So don't rock the boat. Don't report something that tells you that this isn't a government of we the people, by the people, for the people. Right. You know what I mean? And Donald Trump gets it.
They can't even have that color.
When Donald Trump first started running for office, trust in media was at kind of an all-time high. Yeah. Okay. Now it's at an all-time low. Here's Donald Trump. He gave a rousing speech at the NRCC yesterday, and we're gonna play quite a few clips from this.
You can win an election with 94% negative stories, and you win it in a landslide. There's something wrong with the news, because it shouldn't be happening. And they used to have 96% approval rating. They just edged out at 14. I'm extremely proud of that, actually. I've exposed them for being fake news. And we are going to hopefully change that, because I think you really need great news to be great, and they are not great. And they're not leading us to greatness, but we are going to lead us to greatness. We're also joined tonight. You can win.
We are going to lead ourselves to greatness. Exactly.
14%. I mean, that's like the owners are voting, all the freaking families voting.
Do you remember my fake news button?
Oh, yeah.
That I got back in the day?
You fake news. Listen, you fake news. You fake news.
I love this button. I wish it played better on the audio. Fake news all the time.
It's good.
I need a hot button. So yesterday, one of the other things is we've got a new chatter in here. Fab Letty. I can't quite see it there. Ron, scroll down a little bit. Fab Letty. Great to have you present. Pony Boy, yeah, slacking. Pony Boy was the all-time champ of first good mornings, but now we've got a little competition. It's kind of fun. You know, if we tracked it, we could do some kind of award. Maybe that's when we can finally make our first T-shirt or something. Get a Peasants Perspective T-shirt, and if you get, you know, the majority of the first chats in during the month, you get the T-shirt.
I just said we marked him tardy.
We marked him tardy. I get it. If you're on the East Coast, this is early. If you're on the West Coast, you should be right here in line 9:30. You're on your 8th cup of coffee for the morning if you're anything like me. All right. Dan Bongino yesterday addressed that whole issue with Alexis Wilkins, Kash Patel's girlfriend, who exposed a whole op as far as the Flynn network and the amplification of all that stuff. Now, I want to be really clear here because we talked about this afterwards. I'm not saying Flynn is a bad guy. He's another one of the characters in this cast of characters that are going to be written about in the history books that's going to, you know, history will tell the story, but right now it's hard to know.
Yeah.
You cannot forget who General Flynn is, right? He was a Democrat. He was pushed up through the military ranks as a Democrat, typically promoted by Democrats. He was appointed by Barack Obama as the ODNI. He was the top spy in the U.S., okay? And he's the top spy handler. He bragged openly about creating the whole online PSYOP thing because he was in the intelligence community when Al Gore invented the internet. So the whole thing kind of expands from him. So at a minimum, he knows how to amplify a message and get it out. And I remember this very clearly because when Trump lost the 2020 election, and General Flynn was very much behind the organization behind January 6th. In fact, I have many times said I have been very suspicious that he kind of set us up. And there's been a lot of people, including Lynn Wood, who have said that General Flynn wants to be VP and then become president. So he's one of these Game of Thrones guys who's
power player,
grasping at power. Yes. It doesn't make him a bad guy. It's just we as peasants are like, let's see what we see, right? Just because he was persecuted by Barack Obama, that could have been because he knew where the bodies were buried. And he was involved in the whole Libya debacle, which if you go back way into season 1, which now at this point you have to go on the Wayback Machine to get, but there's that episode, it all started in Libya. And it kind of comes through this, and that's where General Flynn flips on Obama and Secretary Clinton, right? You got James Clapper there going, I don't know anything about drone strikes. And General Flynn's like, yeah, you do. So Dan Bongino addressed this yesterday, and Dan Bongino is another one of these people that was promoted by Democrats. He guarded Hillary Clinton, and he's a Republican, right? But at the same time, he's part of the apparatus. He's got contracts. He's got NDAs. He's got all kinds of stuff. He has told us openly, I don't say everything I know because I can't say everything I know. Right. Okay, but he's also an access agent, just like many other people. They're access agents.
Some people we describe as rhinos. He's not a rhino, but we need like a new category for people like him.
Let me tell you where I put Dan Bongino. He's a team player. Okay. He's a Republican team player. He's going to push the narrative that's positive on Republicans. He's not going to take a stand against Israel because why would you? Okay. Then you'd lose half your Republican conference. And he's a team player. Like he believes in America and the idea of America.
And the reason I was saying maybe you need to have a new name or a new category for him is because he has all the NDAs and all the little tentacles that would typically be associated with a rhino, but he's not a rhino.
He's not a rhino, no.
Right.
But he's not. I wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I wouldn't put him in the category of.
And the reason that we're having a hard time describing it is why I'm like, maybe we need a new name for these people.
Yeah, and we take it on its face, but he does talk about this online op. Now, when this broke, obviously a lot like Flynn's like, oh, Russia narrative again. It's like, and like it's a tool, or you know what I mean? Like, so what? There's a lot of Russia. What do they come? Russophobes out there. Everything bad centers around Russia. Even the Iran conflict is Russia's fault. So they were kind of balking against that. And again, even if you're in the Flynn network and you're a real person, you're like, hey, I'm not being controlled by Flynn. Maybe not, but you're being influenced by him. Just like all of us are being influenced by somebody. You know what I mean? And if you listen to this show every day, you start to adopt my perspective. Thank you. That's great. I want you to be a peasant.
And I think yesterday our little back and forth was about what is the influence? You know, what is his influence?
What is the influence? So Dan Bongino addresses it here.
Because Alexis Wilkins put out a tweet last night. I saw it when you saw it. Alexis Wilkins is in a relationship, of course, with FBI Director Kash Patel, as many of you know. Just want to put it all out there. But she put out an interesting tweet last night with actual data points and accounts showing simultaneously synchronized little tweet wars going on about misinformation campaigns and how everybody seemed to do it at the same time. Again, I'm not telling you any of this is illegal. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you what Bezmenov told you. That there's an op being conducted on you to demoralize you about the MAGA movement because people want to take this movement from you. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it. They're all gatekeepers around Trump. And your saviors, these demoralization agents, have hidden knowledge that they'll tell you for $10 if you subscribe to their podcast. But then they won't actually tell you either. They'll tell you they're going to tell you at another time. And
now, Alex Jones went on a tirade about this, and he's like, they presented this with no evidence. No, there's plenty of evidence. Listen, the Flynn Network is real. Okay, it's not a fake thing. It's been around for a while. We know some of the members of it, and some of them might just be along for the ride.
Do we know anything that we could sell for $10? I mean,
subscribe. Doug Wyatt says, Pray the Rosary Daily, good morning. Doug Wyatt says, Dan, Cash, and Pam are more concerned with saving their institutions than saving America. They failed so far. That's the MO right there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the Bill Barr. I'm an institutionalist. Right. I would love to do a bunch of conservative policies, tax cuts, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, the DOJ must stay. Right. At the end of the day, the CIA has a purpose. The FBI has a purpose. Look, the murder rate's gone down. Look, the murder rate should have always been going down. If the FBI just did what we expected them to do, this should be the norm. So thank you for doing your job. You know, it's more of an indictment on the guys before you that didn't do your job, but you haven't defanged the FBI. You haven't unweaponized them. You still have Jocelyn Ballantyne, or whatever her name is, prosecuting Brian Cole, right? Jr., the alleged pipe bomber, which, by the way, I listened to the Kyle Seraphin podcast yesterday. Big shout out to Heather, one of our regular listeners and huge supporter of me when I was incarcerated. Heather said, you got to listen to this podcast. And I was going to anyways, because Steve Baker was on. I sat with Steve Baker in the hallway of the courthouse in DC, and he shared with me that an insider says all the judges in DC know that the Supreme Court's going to overturn the 1512. Didn't matter. They were still slamming the gavel and sentencing people based on the 1512 because they're malicious. But either way, so Steve Baker was on. Listen, that pipe bomber, it's not Brian Cole Jr. Like, it's not. It's not the right skin color. It's not the right height. It's not the right foot color. It's not the right gait. It's not the right arm length. It's not the right hand size. It's nothing. It's not the same person.
Right.
Okay. And he was saying,
that's because we know who it is, right?
Yes, but of course, if it comes, this is what Doug is saying here. Mm-hmm. You cannot let it be exposed that the FBI, Capitol Hill Police, and CIA were all involved in this, because then who's going to take care of Haji? That's the trade-off they're doing. So they're going to sacrifice an innocent man. And they would never do that. Come on, man. Are you serious? Yeah. Of course they will. You look at the Michigan kidnapper plot. Look at the entire J6 narrative. Look at the General Flynn story.
It's what they do.
Yeah. The General Flynn story is really unique. There was a post that I think General Flynn himself made, or maybe it was one of the sycophants of General Flynn. That was when Andrew McCabe and those guys came over to interview General Flynn, and they did their thing. And he stood up and looked out the window and quoted some poem where he said, "The sky is so black," or something. It was, I can't remember what it was, but that poem, you go read the story and what it was about. And it was about essentially a double agent, right? Who made himself the victim so that he could get punished. And then he got the side of the people that were doing the punishing, and then was a double agent in that camp. Right. And I'm like, okay, well, if you're a deep cover spy, That's what you would do. This is no different than the DEA sending someone into prison so he can make friends with everybody, get street cred. Then he gets released, goes out and he gets introduced to the mafia because, look, this guy was with me in the clink. He can be trusted.
This would be the moment in the movie when everybody goes, aha.
Am I saying that is the case? No. This stuff could happen organically just as easily, right? But either way, that is something that we have to take into account. I don't hold General Flynn on any different a pedestal than I hold Dan Bongino, and I don't hold Kyle Seraphin or any of those people on a different pedestal. Everybody's got an axe to grind. I have an axe to grind, right? When it comes to election integrity, I'm going to be maniacal about it because that, to me, is the key issue. I just want to return the power to the people. Some of these other people are not talking about things like the voting machines. Dan Bongino, what are we hearing? We're hearing that the right now thinks they can control that and they want to win elections with their people. More uniparty, just leaning slightly right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you even saw that yesterday. We're not going to play the clip, but there was a newscast where a Republican senator was with Adam Schiff being interviewed by CNBC, and he was promoting amnesty for all the illegal aliens. Okay, great.
We probably should play that clip.
Let the Republicans have control and we'll get amnesty for everybody. So yesterday, Melania Trump hosted Bridget Macron at the White House, and it was a whole technology symposium kind of thing. She came walking down the red carpet with a robot next to her. I was like, oh man, these guys are all in. Anyway, she had Bridget Macron sitting next to her. As you know, the allegation for Bridget Macron is that she's Mr. Bridget Macron. Okay. She's a transgender. She's a male. That's the allegation, mainly promoted by Candace Owens of recent, but it's been long standing.
Yeah, not a bunch of Q posts.
She refuses to take a DNA swab or anything like that. Yeah. So she had her at the White House. And of course, there was a translator provided, and it's a male voice. So I don't know if the White House was trolling her or if France only has one translator that's male that can translate in real time. I don't know the story here. It's just an irony. Okay. But she's sitting next to Melania Trump, and listen to what she says about free speech.
I do know that I am the United States, a country that I love very much. And here we are the country of free speech. But I think that liberty does have some rules. We have to be free, but adapt to certain codes. So I believe in these codes. Too many young people are suffering, and they do not tell us, but they send signals, very strong signals from young people and teenagers. So it's up to us to answer them. Let's answer them all together. Thank you very much. It's wonderful.
Young people, they don't tell us. They're not actually saying they don't want free speech, but they're sending strong signals. I don't know. What would those signals be? Seeing the world as it is and recognizing that things are what they should be. You know what I mean? So yesterday, actually, I think this is today, like not that long ago because of the time difference, the EU had a major upset. So the EU voted. This is the parliament for the EU. Parliament has just voted for a new stricter return regulation. There's a new consensus in Europe. The era of deportation has begun.
Oh my God.
Finally, Europe is getting on board with that. So here's
that
the
image right there. You know what that makes me think of?
What's that?
Senator Palpatine.
The Great Republic. Yeah, that's exactly what, which is also a tyrannical tyranny. Exactly. This is the Great European Commission. So the European Parliament voted to basically have a re-immigration plan to basically start deporting. Now, is it as aggressive as Tom Holman's plan? Probably not, but nonetheless, it is something. And listen to this. This is clapping, so the audio might not be great, but you got to see some of the look on the faces of the people who voted against this.
And it is adopted. So Okay.
Wow.
We have many votes to go through, guys.
Wow. I don't know if the audio is coming through good, but if you can see the video, wow.
Did you see her face? With many votes to go through, okay. They're going to do some backroom deals to make sure that their voters don't leave. Donald Trump addressed this in a press conference where he talked about the European Union is dead, man.
Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. And they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Europe is not the same place. I think this is really a good sign that they've done that. Now, he named all these countries, and they're all in the Eastern Bloc. What did the Eastern Bloc share in common, 30 years ago? They finished up with communism. Yeah. They're done. Right. So as it starts to rear its ugly head in Western Europe, Eastern Europe's like, whoa. Mm-hmm. You do you know the road you're going down? And they've stood up. They've said, no, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, you got to tamp that down.
Yeah, it's still within our recent memories. So Donald Trump wisely is not thinking in short election cycles. He's thinking long term. This was on Fox Business, and I don't even remember who this is. He looks a lot like Tom Segura, the comedian, but he says it best.
So whatever it's going to take financially to make sure that these folks are no longer in power is worth it. It truly is. And again, Donald Trump doesn't think in an election cycle. Donald Trump thinks in generational cycles. And we need to put this money up front to make sure that these guys in Tehran no longer have the ability to negatively influence the entire planet, period.
Yeah, right. You can't fix the world and by default fix America if you can't fix the international terrorism, the drug trade, the money laundering, the human trafficking. And Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, China, and Russia to some degree are all key nodes in this. I'm of the personal belief that Russia just wants a seat at the table. And a lot of what they do is just to create discord so that they can project their power, because they're not as big a nation as India, China, the United States, 150 million people, 200 million people at the most. So they're, roughly.
Right. They look big on a map, but a lot of that is just like Greenland or North Canada,
Siberia. Yeah. They're roughly like 60% the size of the US, right. But they've got more nukes than we do. So they get a seat at the table for that reason alone.
Right.
But at the same time, right, they want to sow discord, because if they can sow discord, then they can trade with China and India and some of these other nations and stuff like that. So I'm of the personal belief that Russia has way more in common with us than they do the Han Chinese and the communist regime.
Oh, yeah.
And so I do believe that if the conditions were right, they would love to reintegrate into Western society. It doesn't mean they're not going to still be up to the shenanigans. I mean, look at MI6. You think they backed off after the Revolutionary War? Clearly not. Okay. Donald Trump, in terms of thinking long term, has also directed the Department of Commerce to immediately begin work on a new and highly accurate census based on modern day facts and figures, importantly using the results and information gained from the presidential election of 2024. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So last time when we had the census, they counted illegal aliens, and that swung the House seats. Like, I've heard 14 and I've heard 30 seats. Like, Florida should have got 2 more. Iowa would get 1 back. Like a bunch of places. Idaho.
Well, all those seats are based on volume.
All those seats are based on volume. California would lose 4 or 5 or 6 seats in this. So that's a really big deal, right? So Trump is attacking the election in all these different vectors, right? Let's get the Save America Act, which deals with ballots. And I believe he's going to do an executive order based on intelligence information to get rid of the machines. I mean, they just banned foreign routers. It's not a big step from there to go, oh, and by the way, election machines made in China too. And every county is going to go, oh, the bottom of the box says made in China, right? So I think that we're going to see a significant amount of change in that regard. And even Democrats like Stephen Smith, and again, Stephen Smith, though sometimes we joke about him being a dunce, California doesn't allow voter ID. In fact, yeah, you can go to jail if you ask. It's like, oh, I didn't. When did that happen? Who did that? Gavin Newsom. Oh, figures, right? So instant conversion. Later in that same show, he's like, we know the Democrats will count illegal votes, right? So Stephen Smith said this on his show yesterday as the Save America Act is being debated on the House floor, going on its 10th day or something like that. And he said this.
Let me state for the record, you should have a damn ID. I have no problem with the demand for an ID to vote. You need an ID for every damn thing else. And to the progressive left, shut the hell up. You got a mayor in New York City that required 2 IDs for you to shovel snow. You ain't in no position to be bitching about how he wants IDs and the GOP wants IDs for votes. Shut up. Nobody wants to hear that.
I promise you, all my black friends in America are looking over at the Hispanic TV like, yeah, tell Abuela to stop voting. Okay? One of the last things, so there was this black guy in prison. Okay. I can't remember his name. I don't know if I ever knew his name, to be completely honest, but he was a how do I describe it? He was kind of a soft black guy. And what I mean by that was he had a kind face and he had a big smile and he had bright eyes.
Okay.
He didn't
so like
look,
Green Mile.
Not quite that big. But he was working out with a guy who looked like the guy from Green Mile. That was a hard black guy.
Okay.
So they would work out together. They were buddies. That guy's name was Miss. I was like, well, why's your name Miss? I'm from Mississippi. They were real creative on that one.
Good enough for me.
So Miss and I got shipped in together, and Miss was like the Green Mile black guy. Okay. So Miss and I, we bumped into each other one time, and okay. 2 stories. So when I was in prison, Miss and I shipped in together. Now, I'm a white guy with no tattoos. Okay. That's unusual for a white guy in prison.
You're standing out.
I'm standing out. So typically white guys with no tattoos are usually either tax frauds or something like that. Now, or pedophiles. Okay. Now I was in a prison that didn't have a lot of tax fraud guys. So there was like 2 or 3 other guys that didn't have tattoos. In fact, all the J6ers had no tattoos, but okay. So when I showed up, my look put me in with the pedophiles. Okay. It was like I automatically in their heads, they associated me with the pedophiles. Pedophiles are not allowed into the TV room at all. Okay. They can't come into the TV room. They have to watch TV from the doorway. It's the most pitiful thing you've ever seen. So when I first get there, I come into the TV room and I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch some TV and I'm going to sit down at the sports TV because I think they were watching women's basketball or I don't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. There was a seat and I wanted to go in and, watch some TV. So I sit down at the TV and Mississippi Miss had already claimed a specific chair. So that's another thing that happens there is people claim their chairs. So he had a chair that was claimed kind of up against the wall. And so I sat down kind of right in front of him and he's sitting sideways to me. And keep in mind, we came in together and he's been in for 20 years. So he knows the rules. He starts squirming in his chair. He's looking around like who's going to be my backup? And he goes, hey, what are you doing sitting there? I'm like, oh, I thought this was the sports TV. I thought I could sit here as neutral because the sports TV was neutral. Anybody could sit there. Right. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I thought so this is sports TV. He just goes, sex offenders can't sit in the TV room. And I go, oh, and I put my hand out, I go, I'm not a sex offender. And he goes, huh. Oh, okay. And then he kind of like settles down. So that was Miss. Miss was about to jump out of his chair and take me out. Thank goodness he gave me a heads up. Sex offenders can't sit in here, right? And I was like, I'm not a sex offender. Oh, okay.
You did just find out.
Yeah. Got it. So anyways, this other guy, the kinder black guy, we were in the chow line and as we were getting chow, he was moving really slow or something. And I went around him at the salad bar to get my green beans. And when I went around him, he moved at that same moment. So we kind of like, bumped into each other. It was my bad. Okay. And anyways, as I took my green beans or something and he bumped into me, he looked at me, he goes, hey, I thought we were supposed to be on the same side or something like that. Like, what? Anyways, it was really awkward. And I was like, did I do something wrong? Because in prison, everything is about honor. Don't touch, don't bump, say excuse me. And that was a habit I had to get into to say excuse me. In fact, I finally had my palms stop sweating every time I walked close to somebody about 3 or 4 months ago. So anyways, so I kind of had this impression that he was, like a fight waiting to happen. It wasn't. He thought he was making a joke. I didn't get the joke. But later, he and I kind of made a lot of small talk over time as we'd stand in line for the phones and stuff like that. And he really supported Donald Trump a lot. And and it wasn't because he was conservative or Republican in any sense of the matter, but he believed that Donald Trump cared about America, and he cared about Black America. That was the thing that Donald Trump projected into the Black American community, especially the men, was I care about you. I care about entrepreneurship. Donald Trump had been in rap videos and he was friends with rappers and, gold, bling. It's like everything they live for is to just be Donald Trump. Okay. And so as I was leaving and I think I had my pardon. So I was like moving from the computers or the TV room back to my room. And he walked up to me and he goes, man, when you get out, things, do this, do that. And he goes, and I really hope Donald Trump deals with, and as we're walking by the dormitory that has all the Hispanics, he goes, I really hope he deals with those guys. Right. And because the Black community is devastated by illegal immigration. It takes their jobs. It infiltrates their communities. It introduces drugs to their communities, which then props up the gangs that a lot of these guys got caught up in. Right.
That just makes sense.
Yeah. So Donald Trump gets it. And the other thing too, the Black guys are really funny about not supporting crime. Okay. Even though many of them in prison are obviously criminals.
Funny.
Yeah. Funny. And they don't like to be represented by people that support crime, which is, again, it's like this idiosyncrasy, right? But they know, like they've been taught in their culture and their zeitgeist about the crack cocaine epidemic. And who did that? Joe Biden. They've been taught about government malfeasance. And who did that? And the CIA introducing drugs and stuff like that. Who did that? The Democrats did that. The CIA did that. The government did that. And so when Donald Trump comes around, he's the outsider that's got a rap sheet, has been shot at, and they're like, he's one of us. Okay. So Donald Trump, in his speech, he talked about the Democrat Party just being a party of criminals.
But they don't like the good publicity. They don't like to see us succeed. They want to see our country fail. And also, what they really want is they want illegal immigrants to come in. Criminals doesn't matter because they want to get their votes. They think they're going to get their votes, and we're not going to let this happen. We're not going to let our country be destroyed by these people.
I believe wholeheartedly if some of my friends in prison saw that, they would clap with that. They don't want to see the country destroyed by criminals, even though they themselves have been labeled criminals. A lot of them understand the economic conditions that led them to the decisions that they made to be there. And they have a huge problem with the Hispanic community. It's crazy, right? Did I ever tell you about the race riot that broke out?
Well, they do have nothing but time to think about it. So, I mean, they've thought about it.
Have I ever told you about the race riot that was about to break out and I got to talk about who I had to fight with?
I think so, but you should tell the story.
So there was some heated stuff going on in the TV room. What happened was we had more Hispanics on the block. They call themselves Paisas. And the Paisas means the brothers in Spanish, I guess. Okay. And it kind of incorporates the Mexicans, but then now there's so many Guatemalans, Hondurans, Venezuelans that it's kind of everybody. So unless you have enough Venezuelans to have your own car, right, your own group, they just all group in together. So where I was at, all the Mexicans and all the Latins grouped in together. And there were more of them than there were of whites. There weren't that many whites on the block anyways, but there were more of them than there were blacks, and there were more of them than there were whites. And the way the TV room worked was you had the white TV, then you had a neutral TV, which was the Muslims. Okay. And then you had the Hispanic, and then there was another TV in this, you have to see the layout. There was like a sunroom thing. It wasn't whatever. It was
like a side room.
A side room that was also a black TV.
Okay.
Okay. And then you had the Hispanic TV and you had the sports TV. Well, there were more Hispanics that then could fit in their section. And so but they didn't really want to sit with the neutral zone, even though technically they might have been able to, because that was really dominated by the Muslims. And occasionally a black guy could go sit over there because he was, investigating Prislam.
So there's some spillover.
There's a little spillover. Well, the Hispanics wanted to they wanted to be able to turn the sports TV onto soccer in Spanish.
Okay.
That ain't gonna fly. You can watch soccer in English, maybe if there's no black guys in there, but otherwise it's basketball, football, ESPN, something like that. And so the Hispanics lined up against the wall leading into the TV room as a show of force. So everybody had to walk through a corridor, which is pretty scary in prison. Right. And it was a show of force. And then that Hispanic, on another night, that Hispanic group went in and sat into the sunroom where the black TV was and just filled it all up. And so there was a standoff here. It's like, are we going to go to blows or are we going to negotiate? Eventually they negotiated and they split the sunroom part to where you had the part close to the TV and the back part became a kind of a game room where the people could go in and play cards, but it was also an overfill where you could see the Hispanic TV. So they could sit there and watch the Hispanic TV.
All right.
It came to a settled negotiation. Thank goodness. But a race riot was like hot in the air. And so the whites get together and the shot caller stands up and he's like 26 years into his sentence. He's going home in like 3 weeks. And he's like, man, if this goes off, I got like 5 more years because I'm not going to let you guys fight the battle that, without me. But he gives us the lecture and he uses every racial slur you can imagine. I don't need to repeat those. But it's like, hey, we fight with the Hispanics. We fight with the Paisas. And so if something goes off, we have to fight against the Paisas, against the black boys.
Okay.
Right. And I'm like, huh. So at this point, I'm like a week away from maybe a pardon. And so I'm like, okay, I don't want to fight either. And I don't want to fight in general. Like what are my goals, was to get through prison without going to blows. And the thing that really blew me away with that whole conversation, I was like, I can't even understand 80% of the Paisas in here, right? They speak Spanish. They don't speak English. I have nothing in common with them. They're foreign invaders to my country. They're a lot of Tren de Agua gang members and Mexican black hands and former MS-13 and 8th Street. They're all in there.
Right. And like, I don't really want to have their back.
I don't really want to have their back. And I'm looking at the black guys. I'm like, I have so much more in common with these guys. I got way more in common with a guy from Arkansas, right? The black guy from Arkansas, me, a suburb boy from Idaho, than I have with some Paisa that walked up through the Darien Gap from Venezuela.
Especially when you can understand, the where the black guy's coming from when he's getting undercut by these guys coming across the border.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, what? I think there needs to be a prison realignment. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyways, that's my story. I was being prepped to fight with the Paisas, and I was like, do we have to? Like, can we change it right here and right now? And things don't change in prison very rapidly. It was like, no, we're still fighting with the black guys. Like, okay. It stems back from back when in prisons it was primarily Americans, and it was norteños, sorteños, prison gangs in California, and they would team up with the whites. But now the Hispanic population in prison is not represented by norteños and sorteños. It's represented by a lot of foreign gangs.
Right.
And you wonder, why is it that we can't get any of this stuff passed through legislation? Why can't we get the Save America Act passed? Why can't we get rid of the fraud? Why can't we do any of this? Anna Paulina Luna went on a little tirade yesterday in the House, and he's like, you want to know why American people hate Congress and why their approval rating is dirt low? Luna.
All right. I support Representative Mace's subpoena here, as well as the amendment to it. And I just think it's really disgusting how this institution protects itself, because y'all just half of them voted to send this stuff to House Ethics, where it's going to die. We know that members of Congress are using taxpayer dollars to pay off sexual harassment. We just had a member of Congress literally sexually harass a woman that then lit herself on fire, and you guys all protected him. You guys all protected him. My own side, your side. And so if you guys want to talk about victims, if you want to go out and virtue signal, and then you guys are going to kill her stuff on the floor and then try to pass, of course we should subpoena all of this stuff. But I'm not going to sit here and play games. I think it's a complete fraud. I think that's why the American people hate us. I think the midterms are coming up and everyone should go on record for this. And I hope that members are exposed for this. I hope it goes back, I think, to the 70s, because it's wrong that it's happening. It's wrong that we cover up for it. It's wrong that we can't censor our own side because people are busy making deals because you guys want to censor your side. It's a deal that's been cut. People hate us for it. So yeah, I support it. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you know who she's talking about? The congressman that had a staffer that was a girlfriend that was having an affair with while he was having an affair with someone else, and his wife was pregnant. Have you heard the story? I think his wife was pregnant. Maybe not. I can't remember.
I think you've covered this a couple of times.
Mills, right? Representative Corey Mills. And you know, his girlfriend that he was having an affair with was the whole.
You need to remind everybody who that is.
Corey Mills is a Republican representative from Florida.
Okay.
And I think he got nominated for something by Trump, and then this story broke and the nomination was pulled. But basically, he had a mistress, right? That there's the text messages all came out. They're vile. Okay. Just vile text messages. Anyways, when he broke it off and the thing broke publicly, she was so shamed. She ended up burning herself. She lit herself on fire to kill herself. And this is all known. Like, it's just out there. And what did they do? Oh, let's have the ethics committee look at it. He should have been immediately thrown out of Congress, censured, like taken off every committee, just thrown out of Congress, and probably some criminal act, something. You know what I mean? Like, it was so bad. They just covered up for it. And like she said, it's your side and our side. And there's a slush fund that Congress has to pay sexual harassment victims from Congress. And some of those payouts have been big payouts.
Does everybody in America know about that? No, of course not.
Of course not, because of course the media is not going to cover it. Nobody's going to cover it.
Americans saw the true.
Donald Trump in that NRCC speech went on to talk about how we saw the true character of the Democrat Party. And I would throw in the Uniparty in general, right? It's you saw their true character.
Americans saw the true and craven nature of congressional Democrats during my State of the Union, and we're not going to let that happen again. They really are. They're a party, and it's terrible to talk. I want it to be the old way where they got, Democrats, Republicans used to get together, have lunch, and then they'd fight a little bit, and, but it doesn't seem to be happening that way. And this is before me. Because if you go back to Obama, he was a great divider. He divided this nation. He was a lousy president. The worst president in history was Biden. But Obama was a terrible president. He was a divider. He did so many bad things. They're the party of fraudsters, criminals, radicals, illegal aliens, high taxes, and putting America last. That's what they are. They put America last. Republicans are the party for every hardworking patriot. And we do something very much different than them. We put America first.
I can say the Republican Party is like that, but you have a lot of Republican Party members that are part of the U Party, the Uniparty, right? It is still the old days, Donald. They still do get together and cut deals. They just don't cut you in on the deal.
I think that was an effective thing to say, though, because it harkens back and people think back to times before, and they're like, man, I wish it was like that too. Even if you don't realize that you didn't really understand what was happening, you still want to go back to that age of innocence.
Yes. You want to go back to where you believe when they raise your taxes to increase the social safety net payout, that it goes to deserving people.
Yes.
To alleviate the suffering of the people we see around us.
Yes.
But we're at a point where we don't believe that at all.
Right.
Who believes that welfare actually, on the whole, helps the suffering? Nobody. You know what I mean? Like, and when we get into the private side of the show today, we're going to show you a couple things that will knock your socks off from here in Washington, right? People that are supposed to be bedridden that are at the grocery store collecting millions of dollars in benefits. It's pretty stunning. But that's the thing, right? The Republican Party at its core represents American working class. It represents America. But the Uniparty is still in bed with the Democrats on this, and they'll play the game, do the sound bites, but then when it really comes down to things like censoring Corey Mills or let's get the Save America pass by all means possible. Well, I don't. We've got our backroom deals. There's a organization here in Washington State that I got wind of called Whispering Angels. And what Whispering Angels is made up of is it's made up of Republicans and Democrats who are on the political side of things. These are people that are precinct, local, officers, like county heads of the Republican Party. They don't run for office, but what they do is they go on retreat together. So these are the political wings, the guys that go knock on your doors and support candidates. They go on little private retreats
like Bohemian Grove,
and they whisper together and they make plans and they coordinate. Right, as little angels, and then they go back to their respective parties, Democrat and Republican,
to bring the message.
They bring the message, and they, you're going to run a strong candidate. We're going to run a weak candidate over here, and we're going to take this district this year, but you can have this one. You can flip that one. We don't like that Republican candidate because they don't play the game. So go ahead and run a candidate there, and we won't support that candidate, but we'll run a weak Republican, but you'll throw that election. I'm like, that's all I can imagine is happening there.
Yeah. They're just wargaming the whole thing.
They're wargaming the whole thing, but whispering angels. Now, I've just got wind of that. I don't have like evidence to back it up. So allegedly that's happening. So Donald Trump goes on to remind us that the DOJ is part of the problem here. His DOJ. And he calls out his DOJ and he says the DOJ has to start acting on the criminal referrals that get sent to it. Oh, Biden didn't have a problem acting on criminal referrals. He was all over that stuff. In fact, they were making it up, right? But the Republicans, for whatever reason, again, the Democrats accuse you of doing the thing they do. So then when you do it, they're like, you're weaponizing government. And Trump mentions that.
Oh, Donald Trump mentioned a dirty cop named Comey, and therefore he's weaponizing government. No, they weaponized, and we're not going to let them happen. I think Comer and all these guys, you're out there someplace, I think, because I can't see a damn thing with these stupid lights they have up. But I want to thank you, Jim Jordan, Comer. Where are those guys? Where I stand up, you deserve it. Now they have to take your recommendations. They have to take your recommendations and they have to act. They have to act. We can't just be sending out all these 100% recommendations and nothing happens.
That sounds a little frustrated.
Yeah.
Right. And when he says recommendations, he's talking about your criminal referrals. Corey Mills, I want to apologize. I just completely slandered you and laid something on you that wasn't your problem. You had your own affair and you have your own problems and it's disgusting and vile. But your mistress did not light herself on fire. It was Tony Gonzalez from Texas. Thank you, Pony Boy, for correcting me there. I did know that. I saw the Tony Segura guy who looked a lot like Corey Mills, and I had Corey Mills in my mind there. So
apologize.
Tony Gonzalez,
many apologies.
Corey Mills, I apologize. You are your own brand of sleaze. Okay, it was not that though, so I very much apologize. Allegedly. Okay, so we have to act on these criminal referrals. And yesterday, guess what, Ron? There was another criminal referral for one of these weaponized government people. This time it was, or I guess again, for the second time, it was Letitia James.
Has confirmed they received that referral. We did reach out to Letitia James in her office for comment. We have yet to hear back. Here with all the details. He is the founder, editor-in-chief, chief investigative reporter, justthenews.com. John Solomon is here with the very latest. This is a blockbuster based on what I've seen with these documents.
Yeah, the documents are very clear. The evidence is very strong. Some of it is court records. So Bill Pulte did his homework. New York Stop Cop is in a world of trouble. This is a very serious legal referral. If you remember last year, there was a referral made for mortgage fraud. It led to an indictment, but then the indictment got thrown out by a judge on the grounds that the U.S. attorney wasn't lawfully appointed there. That will not be the case where these two referrals are being sent. They're being sent to Chicago, where Allstate Insurance is located, in Florida, where a second insurance company where Letitia James took out her homeowner's insurance was based. Both have sitting U.S. attorneys. Both have juries with a long history of sending politicians to prison when they believe they've engaged in corrupt acts. And both are getting referrals that have very specific information. That Letitia James filled out insurance applications for her home in Virginia, claiming that it would not be occupied for 5 months of a year. That probably got her a better rate. And in fact, the house was occupied around a year by a niece and a family member. And so the evidence is strong.
So she just committed, like, on its face mortgage fraud or insurance fraud. And this is on top of the mortgage fraud that she already had her case dismissed because the prosecutor in that case was one of these prosecutors that Trump appointed that didn't get confirmed. And then the time ran up and the judges threw out the prosecutor and thereby threw out the case, right? It was one of these nonsense things where it's like, are you kidding me? So anyways, that's good news. Yeah. Oh, it's weaponized government. then why'd you commit mortgage fraud? Right?
It's just government. It's not, we don't want to be redundant here.
Yeah, it's not weaponized government. It's just government finally doing its job. Kind of like the FBI finally got down on street crime, and now the murder rate's at an all-time low. It's like, oh, thank you. It's not weaponized government. It's finally just government doing its job. Another big thing was, if you remember back to the Ukraine Gate impeachment for Donald Trump, right? Russiagate ended with a fizzle, right? You got Bob Mueller there, probably never read his report. He's in the early stages of dementia, can't remember anything. He's being grilled. And the conclusion was Donald Trump didn't do anything that we can prosecute or do or convict on, but we didn't prove his innocence. Oh, whatever. So after that happened, immediately, just boom, Trump has this call with Zelensky. And he's like, hey, I want to find out about two things. He wants to find out about the CrowdStrike servers in Ukraine. Now, remember, these CrowdStrike servers played into the whole Russiagate narrative. And what the significance of that was those servers hosted the Democrat National Convention's servers, or was their servers, were in Ukraine. So they weren't in New York. They weren't in Hillary Clinton's closet. They weren't in Chicago. They weren't in DC.
They weren't in America.
Ukraine. Exactly. They were in Ukraine. And so he wanted to investigate into the CrowdStrike servers because there was, I can't remember exactly what the point of that whole thing was, but the CrowdStrike servers had been hacked, and that was where Trump got some information, and it was the WikiLeaks stuff. It was all kind of tied in together. And so he said, I want you to find out about these CrowdStrike servers and this, Burisma thing with Hunter Biden. So he says those two words, and all of a sudden, quid pro quo, Trump's not going to help Ukraine if they don't do this. And that's not what the phone call said at all. If you remember, Adam Schiff gets up to start the impeachment hearing in his committee, and he reads a transcript of the call. And at the same time, he's reading this transcript where he repeats the word quid pro quo like 7 times in the Zelensky, I have a quid pro quo for you. Zelensky, quid pro quo, look into my political enemies, some stupid script. Meanwhile, the Trump administration released the actual phone call. So Schiff's just up there lying. Okay. Everybody knows it, but they kept up the charade. And the one guy and there was Vindman was involved, who's now a member of the House of Representatives. His brother is also running. You had the whistleblower who allegedly is the one who brought this call to the attention of the Intelligence Committee, which is where Schiff was at. And his name was Eric Ciaramella. And if you said that name on the internet, you went dark. You couldn't say that name. Okay. I mean, the censorship for just that name was unbelievable. Okay. Do you remember this?
I do, but I don't really understand it.
Okay. If you mentioned Eric Ciaramella's name, you lost your YouTube account. You lost your Google accounts. You lost your Facebook account. You lost, it was just poof. Just immediate ban. It was like what they did to us on Spotify. Boom. Your whole library is gone. You're out of business.
I was like, whoa.
Yeah. So Eric Ciaramella was the whistleblower, along with Vindman, who was somehow involved in that too, confirming the whistleblower's report. And that went to Adam Schiff, who then fabricated the Ukraine Gate impeachment. And there was the Inspector General named Michael Atkinson. And Michael Atkinson, or as they call him, Inspector General Michael Atkinson's testimony became a key document to release. And this is the reason this matters, is because the House Intel Committee released the hidden transcripts of Inspector General Michael Atkinson. So the Republicans have been clamoring for this transcript from Schiff, but he sealed it and buried it in a congressional skiff. So the DOJ didn't have access to it. The military intelligence didn't have access to it. Only the House of Representatives had access to it, and Schiff sealed it and buried it. So the House Intel Committee just voted to unseal it and send it to the DOJ.
Okay.
So in that transcript, Tulsi Gabbard then turned around and declassified the transcript. The transcript of Inspector Michael General Atkinson's testimony becomes a key document to release because at its core, Atkinson testified that whistleblower Eric Ciaramella lied.
Huh.
The Ciaramella lie is at the heart of the impeachment attempt against Donald Trump. This was an operation to impeach a sitting president that came from within the CIA, and it almost succeeded. Chairman Adam Schiff sealed the transcript of ICIG Atkinson's testimony, classifying it under the guise of national security interests and burying it in the HPSCI control system. That's the House Select Committee on Intelligence. If there were a Hall of Fame for American heroes and patriots, it would most certainly be President Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. So that document is going to show that Schiff lied, perjury. It's going to show that Chiaramella lied, perjury. It's going to show that Vindman lied, perjury. Right. It is a huge crux in this weaponized government that came after Donald Trump and eventually MAGA. And that document alone, that transcript alone from the Republicans that read it said it would have exonerated that whole thing.
I don't have anything to back this up, but I'd be willing to wager a small wager that Adam Schiff has already perjured himself like 100 times on camera. And, so what's one more? I mean, he hasn't been arrested yet.
Is the only thing the congressional members have that freedom of speech clause, freedom of debate and speech clause. They can say almost anything they want and they're totally immune to it as long as they got their little congressional pin on. Right.
Oh,
and so, or if it's on the House floor or whatever it is, they can say whatever they want. So there's some kind of immunity. If like when he reads the bogus transcript, there's some immunity. But what there's not immunity for is burying it, for promoting it. Like he's going to get looped in with the entire cabal of people that were going after Donald Trump, which Robert Mueller was a part of. Rest in age, RPIH, and what's his name? Andrew Weissman. Andrew Weissman was Robert Mueller's lieutenant. So Andrew Weissman actually ran the Russiagate investigation. Mueller was a figurehead. He was the credibility. Oh, he'd been a cop and a Marine, and he had all this gravitas, even though he's a dirty cop from start to finish. Okay. And so Andrew Weissman really ran the Russiagate narrative. And remember, Andrew Weissman and all of his staff of attorneys, they all simultaneously forgot the passwords on their iPhones when they got subpoenaed and deleted them by putting their password in wrong 10 times, which then wipes the phone. So, you can't have our communications. It's kind of like Lord Mandelson and all these people. Oh my gosh, my phone got stolen. Did you back it up to the cloud? No, why would I back it up to the cloud? By the way, I don't back my stuff up to the cloud. The FBI was blown away by that. It's like, you're taking my phone. It has all my stuff. He's like, well, just get a new phone and download from the cloud, from the iCloud. I'm like, I don't use iCloud. Like, why? Like, why would I use iCloud? I have a phone, and iCloud gets hacked all the time. Just asked all these actors that get all their nudes leaked. You know what I mean? And he was like, oh, you don't? And I was like, haven't you guys already been in my iCloud at this point? Anyways, Andrew Weissman was on this little podcast, and I don't know, this host here just praises him. Robert Mueller would be so proud of you. Look at Weissman's face when this happens.
Now you're going to make me tear up and start crying.
What I will say, a friend of mine, Jeannie Reese, says this about me, because, my reputation is like I'm a really hard ass prosecutor.
I didn't know that. Really, Andrew?
Yeah. So, and Jeannie, I still remember coming.
He's a hard ass prosecutor during the Enron scandal who came after J6 touches everything. He's a hard ass prosecutor who during the Enron scandal came after the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, who was a worldwide accounting firm, because they were doing the accounting for Enron. And Arthur Andersen, after 7 years of keeping documents, started shredding documents, which is standard practice, right? Okay. 7 years, you keep them, shred them. I don't need to keep the paper. I don't need to keep it. It's beyond the reach of an audit. Shred it. Okay. Well, when the investigation opened up, they were doing their normal procedure of shredding documents, and then a subpoena arrived asking for the documents that had just been shredded. Okay. So there became a controversy around, did you know, when the investigation was opened in Enron, it's public news, you're their accounting firm, why didn't you preserve the documents? And they're like, we weren't asked to. Okay. So that was the crux of the case against Arthur Andersen. So he took him to court, got a conviction. Arthur Andersen went out of business. 80,000 employees got laid off from that firm. It went to the Supreme Court, and the whole thing got overturned 9-0.
Whoa.
His abuse of power, abuse of subpoena, abuse of prosecutorial power was so egregious, the Supreme Court overturned him 9-0. And as a result of that, Congress created a statute to prevent what that was, again, from evidence being tampered with during a congressional investigation, because that's where it all started, was a congressional investigation. And it was called USC 18-15-12, obstruction of Congress. And you have to destroy a document like Arthur Andersen, shred it, tamper with a witness on the way to testify take them to an offsite location so they can't show up. And the only justification was if you knew the witness was going to lie or something like that. Anyways, you read the statute, it's congressional investigations, it's tampering with documents and witnesses. I was charged with that statute. Okay. So the statute that was created in response to Arthur Anderson to create a actual law that could be prosecuted that Andrew Weissman fabricated before that law was in existence got overturned at the Supreme Court 9-0. And then the Supreme Court eventually overturned the 15-12 against Jay Sixers because it didn't apply. Okay. So Andrew Weissman, thank you, you SOB. That was the highest charge I had.
Into my office and going, I don't understand, because you know what? You're squishy.
You are squishy. You're a good egg, Andrew. I mean, I think Bob Mueller would be proud of you and what you're doing.
Well, I think he'd be proud of lots and lots and lots of people. It's funny. I hate personalizing it to. I just think there's so many wonderful people inside and outside of government. My heart goes out to the people in government who deserve better and deserve role models. And it's one of the reasons that we can give as much support as we can to them. But I want to say this is great. I'm really glad we did this. We were trying to figure out, for people listening, we were trying to figure out ways to commemorate and to honor Robert Mueller's legacy.
The way we can honor his legacy is to send you to join him. I mean, hypothetically, legally and peacefully, let you rot in prison for treason. Andrew Weissman is a total dirtbag. All right, shifting to geopolitics, world news.
All right.
So Thailand, we talked about the lockdowns and how there are these energy lockdowns and these restrictions on travel and things like that. How gas stations in different countries around the world that are dependent on Strait of Hormuz oil supplies are starting to have some real energy problems. Thailand has run out of fuel. Cities are paralyzed, air conditioners aren't working, and the temperature exceeds 40 degrees. And that's not 40 degrees Fahrenheit, that's Celsius. Tourism, a pillar of the economy, has collapsed in just 3 weeks. So you go through here, you can see gas lines. Gas lines.
Des stations vides, faute de carburant.
No gas.
They are out of fuel.
Ouch.
So imagine being in a country, Thailand, no connection to the Middle East, no connection to the United States other than tourism, and all of a sudden you have long gas lines. It would prompt someone in Thailand to go, what's going on here? and somebody might say as response, well, it's that unjust war happening over in the Middle East. It's the United States bombing, and that's why you can't drive. That's why your AC doesn't work. Okay. And so the Iranians understand this, and Iranians are well known at being really good at psychological operations. Same with the Russians and the Chinese, right? They're pretty good at this stuff.
So what are they selling?
All right. So here's a video that got posted 2 days ago. I think I mentioned it yesterday. I wanted to show this to you guys because this is propaganda. Okay.
That's why I was laughing.
And this plays really strongly in nations that feel like the United States has created some environment that's oppressive to them. They're higher pricing, no gas, lockdowns, right? Because there's this in the world, the whole world. When I was down in Brazil, they don't view themselves as huge geopolitical players, right? To them, there's America, there's China, a little bit of Russia, and the whole world is a stage for those three to act out whatever they're acting out. And then who's allied closely with the United States, Europe, and it becomes a team game, right? And Brazil's kind of, they've viewed themselves as sometimes they're communist socialists and they align with, Russia and or China. And sometimes they're liberty lovers and they align with America.
That's however they fit in the world.
They're a big country, but they're not a big player.
Right.
And one of the reasons they're not a big player, by the way, was in the 1970s when there was the OPEC embargo and we had gas lines here in America.
Yeah.
Looping around the
block. I was going to mention those in a second.
Right. It was bad here. It was horrible down there. I mean, it shut them down, their economy down, and it actually led to a overturning of their democratic government into a military dictatorship that lasted 15, 20 years. And it collapsed their currency. It was a big deal. So you know what Brazil did in response to that? They became energy independent. Which is what pulled them off the world stage. And the way they do it is through ethanol. They have got unlimited supplies of sugarcane. It's really easy to make ethanol with sugarcane. And so all the cars down there drive on straight up ethanol.
Wow.
Right? In fact, gasoline is kind of like a luxury car thing, but all the gas pumps are in alcohol. It's alcohol, and so they produce their own fuel for the cars, and then they have some offshore drilling and stuff like that for power plants and things. So, anyways, I remember because we were marching into Iraq when I showed up in Brazil, and someone came up to me, Americano, Americano. He spit in my face, and I'd been in there for like one day, and I'm like, wow, I thought I'd be welcomed here. I'm a missionary. Let's see. Fraser said, my phone was broken, replaced and back to fully working in 15 minutes after purchase, except for security software that had to be reinstalled. Oh, but I see. I use an Android. John Attack is, what kind of hat is Taylor wearing? Sort of hat. It's a culture. Is that cultural appropriation? Yeah, Irish. Pony Boy, most people are not happy to be in government, should not be in government. Yep. Okay. So cultural appreciation. All right. So let's play this propaganda piece that came out from Iran. Now, this is happening at the same time that Trump is saying that he just got a gift from them and he's negotiating with the right people. Mm-hmm. This video drops. And this plays on American liberals and leftists that have done revisionist history, and they view America as, another colonizing nation and all this stuff and war. And this is rich coming from the Iranians, but feel it. One vengeance for all.
Oh, okay.
That right there. That's a powerful piece of propaganda.
Wow.
I remember when I was in prison, my Al-Qaeda friend recommended I read a book called MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. And it was about the narrative of Mohammed bin Salman and his rise to power and Khashoggi and the killing of Khashoggi. It was fascinating. In fact, we had an inside joke. Every time he would pass by me, he'd go, there was a quote in there from the book where Trump called the Mohammed bin Salman after they killed Khashoggi in the Turkish embassy. And he goes, I listened to the tape, and he goes, that was pretty rough stuff. He says, what'd you need a bone saw for? He says, I've been in some rough negotiations. I've never needed a bone saw. And so that became a thing. He'd walk by and he'd go, never needed a bone saw before.
Ooh.
Anyways, this video, it starts out with, the American Indians, Vietnam, and eventually a girl standing on Epstein Island, all looking to the sky. These are all victims of America, the great Satan. And Iran launches a warhead and hits our Statue of Liberty, which is set up as the great Satan bafflement, right?
I have a really weird, comedic thought process.
Go for it.
When at that moment, right before they showed the missile, it's like, what are they all looking up to? Is Jesus coming?
Okay, so the book Mohammed bin Salman, yeah, you're funny. The book Mohammed bin Salman, it mentions the Yemenis, because Khashoggi would go interview the Yemenis, and Khashoggi was a dissident of Saudi Arabia. So he spoke out against government oppression and things like that in Saudi Arabia, and that's why he had to get asylum in the U.S. He was a writer for the Washington Post, had 3 wives, not the greatest guy. His family's involved in high-level gun running and drug running around the world. But anyways, the Yemenis, right, they're just peasants like us. Remember, 99.9% of the world's population just live where they live, want to raise a family, want to put food on the table. They're just normal people. And in Yemen, they've had this very long war with Saudi Arabia, and they're way outmatched. The Houthis are the rebels there, and they're a terrorist organization funded by Iran, right? But Yemen, just normal peasants. Like, there was a story in there about a factory that made widgets, and it was just a family factory. Like, it totally nothing to do with defense contracting, nothing to do with anything, and they got bombed. Okay, they have no ability to rebuild, but as they're shuffling through their own shrapnel of their factory that was bombed for basically no reason by a Saudi fighter jet, they pull up shrapnel of the bomb, and guess what's on the bomb? An American flag. And they're like, they know it's Saudi doing it, but if it weren't for the American military and the supplies, our factory wouldn't have been bombed. So it turns the peasantry of Yemen against America because the bombs, look.
Made in the USA.
Made in the USA, exactly. And so this kind of propaganda in these places that have
even though all the chips come from China.
Yeah. So this kind of propaganda plays really strong in certain places. And in there it had American Indians, Vietnam, it had a girl from Epstein Island, it had Iraq, it had Iran, Yemen.
Everybody that's been oppressed or felt the power thumb of, America coming down on them.
Yeah,
somehow.
which is really rich. I think it's really rich. They had a girl on Epstein Island where it's like, dude, there are videos circulating of you guys doing the things that are alleged to have happened on Epstein Island. Like it's no big deal.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, these are not equal. Well, here's another piece of propaganda that came out, and this is Netanyahu and Trump at the feet of Baphomet, the great Satan, telling them, hey, yeah, we have a sacrifice for you, right? This is the whole sacrificing babies, a sacrifice for you, that school of 164 kids, right?
We sacrificed 168 beautiful, innocent school kids, the best kids. Tremendous sacrifice. Nobody does sacrifice like we did. We did it for you, sir. Believe me, Val, it's huge.
More. I want more.
Do you call upon the idol of Baal and abandon the best of creators? And that is a quote from the Quran. Then there's a nice big ICBM missile launch happening there. So fight against Satan forces indeed. Satan's schemes are ever weak. Another quote from the Quran. So they've theologically wrapped in the West, the United States and Israel as worshipers of Baal and child sacrifice. And that's the point of all this war. I would contend the opposite. I would be like, you're the ones that sacrifice and you're a cult of sex and murder and violence. You know what I mean? But listen, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, here's why. Frazier, great morning in Idaho. Were you at the march yesterday? Were you at the big march yesterday that happened in Idaho, Boise, Idaho? You should have been, because guess who was marching in your hometown?
Say that again.
Those are Muslims.
Okay.
Marching in Idaho.
What the heck is going on?
Yeah. So that propaganda, I guarantee they saw it on their news feeds.
Wow.
Right? I guarantee they saw it in their news feeds. Frazier says that was next to my office about a block back. Well, then your office is not a safe space. Okay. How many of those people could, I don't know, be suicide bombers tomorrow? Oh, but don't be so critical. Why not? They're sucking in all that propaganda. Right? I mean, everybody has a certain inclination towards the land of their nativity and towards their theological equivalents. Here's a video of the IRGC spokesman, and it's in Farsi, so we don't need to listen to it. But the quote is, considering that all American bases, this is the propaganda Iran's putting out. They've been decimated. They've been decimated. But somebody somewhere has a computer. And somebody somewhere can upload stuff, and they're playing the victim, but they're playing the victim that's fighting back so strong, considering that all American bases in the region have been destroyed. Have they been destroyed? Are we certain? American commanders and soldiers have fled and taken refuge in hideouts outside the bases, and we are searching for them. Is that happening?
High level.
Destroyed all of our bases, and I think we're at like 8 casualties, something like that.
28, 29, ready or not, here I come.
Yeah, Carlita says those Iran videos are probably produced in California. Haha. You know, I said the same thing to my wife. I said, she's like, who's making the videos? And I'm like, honey, we don't know those videos weren't made in North Dakota. I'm like, but they're great propaganda, sure.
Man, I'm going to connect a couple of dots that are right next to each other. They're probably in Idaho.
So with that topic, yes, Carlitos, the propaganda could have been produced in California, could have been produced in North Dakota, or maybe Idaho. And you just saw a march in quiet, peaceful, mostly white Idaho, right? And Hispanic Idaho, with Muslims marching and chanting virulently and violently and in full hijab covered the whole thing, right? Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune have been working to pass a clean extension of FISA 702. What is FISA 702?
I have no
It's the
idea.
NSA ability to spy on everything.
Oh.
It's the ability to basically tap into the underwater cables and the satellite feeds, and they can just spy on everything. But the idea is you're supposed to get a warrant to spy on Americans. But as we know from the Snowden release, right, that was what he leaked, is that is not how it works. So your assumption that they would get a warrant is not true. Okay, they're still spying on you. And what they do is they go into the FISA court to unmask you, but they've spied on you. Conservatives want to change it to where they have to get a warrant to spy on you so that you're secure in your person's papers, things, and cell phones. Okay. But in a world where the enemy is behind the gate, the enemy has taken advantage of birthright citizenship, that becomes a harder and harder pill to swallow. Because yes, Carlitos, that video could have been made here in the United States. And so how would you track that person down? Not necessarily because of the propaganda, but maybe because there's other things associated with it. You would need to use the 702. Does that make sense? A law that was passed many years ago by Congress to collect intelligence on foreigners and non-citizens, when used properly, FISA is an effective tool to keep Americans safe. And I actually do agree with that. I do agree with that, right? If you can stop a plot before it takes motion, good on you. For these reasons, I have called for a clean 18-month extension. What does that do? It gives 18 months where we continue with this awesome power, right? And what are we doing with it? We're deporting, we're going after domestic terror plots and all that kind of stuff. And Trump's still in power for 18 more months. So it will come up for renewal again while he's in power. However, the critical and common sense reforms that were made in the last reauthorization of FISA must remain intact to protect the American people from abuses. This has to do with some of the unmasking and stuff like that. Nobody understands this better than me. I was a victim of the worst and most illegal abuse of FISA in our nation's history by radical left lunatics who lied to the FISA court to spy on my 2016 presidential campaign in their attempt to rig the election in favor of crooked Hillary Clinton. That is why, since the first day of my historic second term, my administration has worked tirelessly to ensure these reforms are being aggressively executed at every level of the executive branch to keep Americans safe, while protecting their sacred civil liberties guaranteed by our great Constitution. With the ongoing successful military activities against the terrorist Iranian regime, it is more important than ever that we remain vigilant, protect our homeland, troops and diplomats stationed abroad, and maintain our ability to quickly stop bad actors seeking to cause harm to our people and our country. The fact is, whether you like it or not, FISA, whether you like FISA or not, it is extremely important to our military. I've spoken to many generals about this, and they consider it vital. Not one said, even tacitly, that they can do it without it, especially right now with our brilliant military operation in Iran. Thank you for your attention to this very important man, Donald J. Trump. So we're going to probably end up with a FISA renewal, and it's going to be for 18 months, and we're going to kick this can down the road another time. But at least the debate will happen in Trump's presidency. But I get it. And I said this yesterday. A lot of people in my circles want this thing abolished, never do it. And I'm like, we're at war. The enemy's behind the gates. The Muslims are marching a block from my dad's office. Who knows what group chats they're in? Who knows who they're getting messages from? We probably need it, right? We probably need it. Now, another big narrative that's been circulating around on left media is that the Middle East is turning on Trump, that they hate this war, that it's bad for everybody. And I think anybody who has a long-term outlook on things understands that this war is good, right? And that the Middle East has been destabilized by Iran, and sans Iran, there's a chance for peace, mutual cooperation, and capitalism to thrive. And this is the UAE Minister of State was on with, I believe this is Brett Baer last night, and she said the opposite of what you would hear on left stream media.
Do you think the calls for the Gulf Arab allies, including the UAE, to get involved kinetically in the war are fair?
The UAE has fought side by side with the United States in over 6 coalitions in our history. We have shared values. We have shared history with the United States. We have interoperability with the United States. They are a clear partner to us in regional security, and we intend to double down on that. Today, we are looking at a threat to not only our region, but to the international community at large that needs to be stopped in whatever way possible. The UAE is always for a diplomatic off-ramp at the end of that. We need to use diplomacy, but we need to use diplomacy when Iran understands that its behavior as a rogue actor is not acceptable neither to the region nor to the international community.
Do you think the call?
And that's the crux of it. The guys that are in the neighborhood know they're the problem. It's just like us. You know, you're in your nice little suburb, but that corner over there is where the crack house is, and there's the brothel over there, right? It's like, hey, if we could deal with that, we could have a nice neighborhood. That's what they're saying. And they're doubling down on their support for us in this conflict. I think everybody in the region is doubling down on support for us in this conflict. What do you got for us today, Ron?
Let's find out. Let's see if we can.
You just got to hit refresh over and over. Every time I do that, one pops up. It's like being at the slot machines in the casino. Eventually, it'll get something for you. Oh man, it's bad.
Maybe.
You got horrible luck.
I know.
Jeez Louise. All right. So General Keenan, Jack Keenan, was on Fox News with. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, here we go. We have to do this one.
Rumble Wallet.
Woo! Here's a little inside scoop that many creators are talking about behind the scenes. It's actually one of the reasons I'm using Rumble. They made a way to super chat creators so you can get paid immediately and without any fees. YouTube and Twitch take up to 50% fees when you tip creators. This method takes none. That's right. The platform takes 0 fees. I keep nearly 100% of what you send me. You can super chat with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold stablecoins. The tip will show up directly in our Rumble chat, which I'll do my best to read. All you need to do is download the Rumble wallet on the App Store and send the tips to your favorite creators. You can use go to wallet.rumble.com, or you can download the app directly from the App Store. Seriously, what an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help the creator economy. Shout out to Rumble for making this disruptive technology.
I like it. I am a huge fan of Bitcoin, by the way. Absolute huge fan of Bitcoin. And I think today it dropped quite a bit. I made a small investment in Bitcoin, and it's now every time I buy Bitcoin, it drops. So I'll let you guys know if I'm going to buy, so you can buy the next day.
We're not a finance show.
We're not a finance show. Although we feign to be on some days. Okay, so Jack Keenan was on with Jesse Waters, and he was talking about the Strait of Hormuz, because again, all this panic around the Strait of Hormuz, and the impact is real. I just showed you Thailand on lockdowns. We talked about Australia the other day. The impact is real. The question now is the juice worth the squeeze, and is there a plan to reopen it? Now, the gift that was given to America that Trump mentioned, that was an oil and gas gift, it was, in fact, I guessed it, guys.
A tanker?
It was, in fact, the tanker that was heading to Thailand. Okay, so hopefully to relieve their gas. And what it was Iran agreed to let non-U.S. and Israel-associated tankers cross over, right, without paying the toll or whatever. So that's a huge deal. Like, relief is on the way, Thailand, and that was part of it. That was an act of submission, and it was communicated to the president through whatever back channels that they would do that, which signifies that the people who communicated that was going through and allowed it to go through have control over the people that would be launching boats and RPGs and whatever at those tankers.
Right. So all of the people that are saying that Donald Trump's not talking to the right people. Yeah,
exactly. So Jack Keenan was on, and he addressed this, and he's like, listen, anybody who thinks that America can't open the Strait of Hormuz is fooling themselves. We've been game planning this for years, but it's a military operation. It's going to take a minute.
For the United States to secure the strait.
Yeah, well, it's not without its challenges, but listen, we've been dealing with this thing for decades. I mean, even when I was a division commander in the 90s and a corps commander, that was one of our war plans that we exercised tabletop and got to the bottom of. When I was a 4-star in the Pentagon in 2000s, we were exercising that plan. So these people that say, oh my, the Iranians kind of surprised us with the Straits of Hormuz, give me a break. This has been a part of our repertoire for years. Listen, Admiral Cooper, who you had there, discussing what's going down. By the way, Jesse, I just want to compliment you. That's the best rundown I've seen since the war started on what we've been doing, systematically running down all of our capabilities and the objectives we're attacking. Well done here for you and your team.
Thank you.
But the reality is, on the Straits of Hormuz, we are going to take that by force and keep it open for as long as we have to be there to keep it open. And that is why we appealed for assistance, because we have warships who are doing offensive operations. We have warships who are doing defensive operations. And obviously we can spare some to do some escorting through the straits. But we needed help for others to come. And obviously now they are coming. And they're coming by the scores. Now we're up to 30 countries that want to help. So that's going to be very important. And operationally, we know how to do this. And what we've systematically been doing for about 12 to 14 days is taking down Iran's capability to interdict our ships. And what am I talking about there? Eliminating the small boats and mines that are part of their arsenal, eliminating the drones that can reach them, eliminating the anti-strike missiles that Iran has on its territory, and going even further in depth into other ballistic missiles and short-range missiles that could also influence shipping. So systematically, Admiral Cooper and his team have been doing that. And obviously, that's just thrown into the huge collage of all the airstrikes that are being done. But very specific targeting here so that the ability for Iran to retaliate to any consequential degree is denied them. It doesn't mean that they're not going to have capability to shoot a drone at us or take a shot at us. Certainly, that's possible. And that's what the warships are there for. They'll have defensive systems. And listen, Jesse, we're likely to strap on to those commercial ships also some counter drone capability with drones themselves, and also likely some EW capability. We have some pretty sophisticated capability we've been using here in the war and also in Ukraine, where you separate the person that's transmitting the electronic message to a drone from the drone itself. And what happens? The drone falls to the ground. So there'll be defensive measures right at the point of contact, but in-depth measures taken to reduce their retaliation in terms of small boats, landmines, and all the systems that they can have that could range that shipping. That is a comprehensive operation. We know how to do that. Admiral Cooper and his people are about doing that. And it's a fact. We will open by force the Straits of Hormuz, and we will keep it open. That is the path that we're on here, as well as taking down Iran's offensive capability. You're demonstrating that every night, what we're doing, that remove their nuclear capability as well in its entirety. And we're also talking to them. And essentially, for the American people to understand what the Trump administration, whose eyes are wide open here in terms of Iran, they're liars, they're cheaters. We understand all of that. And what we're simply asking them to do is surrender the capabilities that they have that we are forcibly taking away from them. We're offering them that opportunity to do that. It's unlikely they will do that. And that is why the military option is being forcibly executed every single day. As of a couple of days ago, we need about 3 weeks to finish this on the American side as well as the IDF side, systematically, deliberately. It's one of the remarkable success stories in American military history in terms of what we're dealing here. And I'm gratified to see you point out the lack of casualties that we have in terms of the numbers of casualties. It breaks our heart to have any casualties, and certainly any killed in action or even accidental deaths. But the reality is these casualties are very, very small by comparison to anything that we've done in the past. And why is that? Because we took away early on their capability to retaliate consequentially. They wanted to do 25 and 50 salvos at a time. And they're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's about it. And occasionally they'll put together 10. But look at the casualties even in Israel. 14 dead. Yeah. Comparison to what they have fired, and comparison to what they did during the 12-day war, which was twice that. So it's a remarkable operation in terms of what we're achieving through kinetic action, and also how we're being able to protect our forces, to protect the civilians in Israel, and to protect our allies and partners in the region. And they're doing a lot of that protection for themselves as well.
What's really tricky about this is that old saying, right? We win every battle, but we lose the war. And that's the thing that I understand the sentiment amongst people who are like, listen, you know, we were back-to-back world champs, but we've taken a couple beatings since then, right? By winning every battle, but losing the war. Korea, Vietnam, Iran, like you go on and on. It's like the blowback was way worse than what we did. Afghanistan, Taliban are still running the place.
Well, and even if you want to say that we somehow won, I mean, a lot of people died.
So nobody doubts the American military might. What do the Iranians have left at this point? Propaganda. Propaganda. Yeah. We just showed you some. So Donald Trump called this out because behind the scenes, and Donald Trump is saying they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal. But then publicly, as they're supposed to be making a deal, that you see these propaganda videos come out. You see that IRGC guy being like, "We've destroyed all the bases." And then one of the things they put out yesterday was they said, "We're looking at the peace proposal, just looking at it." Trump says the Iranian negotiators are very different and strange. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of comeback. And yet they publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. They better get serious soon before it is too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back and it won't be pretty, because the next up is a power plant. And now you're going to deal with the people of Iran. Because right now, word on the street is the people of Iran, unlike that propaganda video, are looking to the skies and they're like, Hercules, 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 make it rain, baby. Right? Because it's hitting military installations. Right. These are the people that just slaughtered 30,000 of their own people earlier this year. So the people in Iran are like, please get rid of the Arab invaders and let's be done with the crazy cult theocracy.
But you can guarantee if we ever get to the point where we start bombing, actual power plants, then the vibe will just turn to, well, look, they're attacking civilians.
Exactly. So you want to hold off, and Trump bought them 5 days, right? So tomorrow's the 5th day. So this weekend might go dark in Iran if there's not some deal on the table or tankers aren't flowing freely through the strait. Right. Trump addressed this also in his speech yesterday. It's funny, as we were playing that Jack Keenan, I'll remember not to play Jack Keenan anymore, you guys. I know he's boring. We saw our numbers. It could have been the video was long, but either way, come back. Also, if you're watching on X or Facebook or YouTube, we would love to have you join us over on Rumble. Come be a subscriber. Sub on Rumble, as it says. Come be a subscriber, get notifications when we go live, be a part of the private community, the unoffendables over there. We'd love to have you. Okay, so Trump addresses the negotiations.
Seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran? And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us. There's never been a head of a country that wanted that job less than being the head of Iran. I don't want it. We listen to some of the things they say. We hear them very clearly. They say, I don't want it. We'd like to make you the next supreme leader. No, thank you. I don't want it. But I want to express my gratitude to the
Nobody wants to step up and be the supreme leader right now.
Nobody wants to get Gaddafi'd someday.
Gaddafi'd, Soleimani'd, Gayatollah. Right? We don't want to do it. On the 5 yesterday, yes, it does sound like Donald Trump is going to be on the 5 today. Jesse Waters yesterday just had it out with Jessica Tarlov. Now, Jessica Tarlov, bless her heart, Jessica Tarlov has to get on the 5 surrounded by Republicans and hold the line for Democrats. And I remember she used to go on Jimmy Fallon's show, and I used to listen to it in prison. She'd go on pretty frequently. And at one point she was talking about looking at polling data and crying about Joe Biden. And she's like, we can't win. She's like, they knew he wasn't going to win and he was a bad candidate. And then the Kamala stuff. And they knew that he wasn't democratically elected by the Democrats as the nominee. It was an elite appointment, right? And so Jesse Waters, she's crying. Again, it's the same liberal story. Well, what's the plan? And boots on the ground and endless wars and all this stuff.
For a second.
Please, whatever.
I mean, Jessica asked the question that a 5-year-old would ask. When is this thing going to be over?
Stop it.
Okay, that's not a serious contribution to the discussion about a war, Jessica. Okay?
Oh.
We knew what was the objective, and we're going about it methodically. You know what the goal is, you weren't listening. Let me explain it to you this way.
It started out with regime change and ending the nuclear program.
There was never regime change.
Yes, it was. He said today we already did a regime change because you got Ayatollah
the
Jr.
Ayatollah. Stop You're hyperventilating. Relax. Let me explain the war to you. Why would Donald Trump lie about talking? All he does is talk. I mean, you don't think he's talking? He's talking to everybody. He was talking to Maduro right before he pulled him out of bed. He talks to Putin. He talks to reporters who call him at 1 o'clock in the morning. You don't believe that he was talking to the Iranians? Come on.
Say that.
Of course he's talking. And he bought a lot of time, 5 days, for the 82nd
For the market to have a good time.
For the 82nd Airborne to get into theater. I mean, that is a crazy conspiracy
And he fired the guy, the woman who was going to be in charge of investigating it.
Okay, Jessica, no one knows what you're talking about.
Everyone does who pays attention.
Everybody on Blue Sky. Come on, Jesse.
Everyone on Blue Sky. Oh, on the left, the big thing, if you go onto Blue Sky, which I'll never go, but I see screenshots from time to time, the whole thing is Trump's a taco. Taco Trump. Have you heard this?
No.
You know what taco stands? TACO?
No.
Trump always chickens out.
What?
Right? They say Trump's taco. He tells the DOJ to go do something. They never do. He chickened out. He says we're going to do this. Oh, he never did it. We chickened out. So Trump's a taco. Trump always chickens out.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's the, they're trying crooked Hillary Clinton, taco Trump, right?
Okay.
I don't know. Bill O'Reilly, who I still will never understand why he has such inside connections to Trump.
Oh, I talked to the president.
They were good old boys together. Bill O'Reilly had a show, right? The Spin Zone, and then he sexually harassed one of his people to the point of a $27 million settlement.
Live.
I don't know what kind of sexual harassment you have to do to get a $27 million settlement. But he kind of was persona non grata for whatever reason, probably whatever the settlement was over. And but anyways, apparently he can talk to Trump liberally and freely, and they're buddies. Huh. So he would talk to Donald Trump, and he was on with Chris Cuomo talking about some insider information about the Strait and what the plan is here.
Oh, I talked to the president last night late, and here's what I know, Cuomo. So the United States would like to have a dialogue with Iran, but they don't know who to talk to. There's no clear leader anywhere. I mean, Omar, the tent maker, could show up to have the dialogue. They'd like to do it in Pakistan. They have Witkoff and Kushner ready to go. And they'd like to start the dialogue to get the things that the United States feel are necessary for world peace. So that's the American component. The chaos on the other side is undefined. There's no reporting on the ground. Nobody knows really where these people are. They're all hiding. A lot of them have been assassinated. So it's very hard to quantify what they're doing. The Revolutionary Guard is pretty much in control of hurling missiles and drones in the Straits of Hormuz. They're going to run out of ordnance soon. And then you have the China factor, which is huge, because President Trump doesn't want to eliminate the oil from Iran to China, particularly when he's going there in middle of May. So it's a very complicated thing. This simplistic garbage that you hear on television news in America is insulting. The administration is now waiting to see if it can get the deal that it wants. And that's where we...
And this all hinges around energy, right? It all hinges around that oil flowing freely. When you've got countries like Thailand and Australia going on actual lockdown, China is reducing their factory flow, their workload. They don't have the energy to keep these mega factories open.
So they're scaling down?
Yes. Again, weakening the Chinese Communist Party here is not a bad thing. And if Trump can get the Strait open, and he can go to China and be like, you're welcome. Oh, did you see how easy that was for us? It took us a couple weeks. But by the way, we could pinch that off because now we're in control of the Strait of Hormuz.
And by the way, you're going to be paying real prices now.
So no more free oil in exchange for financial support directly to the Ayatollahs. You're going to pay the international market rate for this oil.
There you go.
It changes the game, right? Already now it's like, oh, maybe it's not so cheap to build in China. Hey, let's bring our factories out of China and back to Europe and back to all the other places that they could be. Kevin O'Leary was on Fox News, and he said just this: what's happening right now is one of the best things that could possibly be happening for the international economy. But of course, there's a little delay here. Like Trump said, What's 50 days of high gas prices for 50 years of free trade and liberty and freedom?
That's really good for everybody because that's a lot more trade into Asia. That's the hub. UAE is the hub of trade for that whole region. That'll be a great outcome for investors like me. And I don't want to make light of the war. I keep saying that, but I'm thinking ahead 90 days here, and I'm liking what I see. Not the war. I keep saying that. I don't need the headaches on social media, but you know what I'm saying in terms of long-term vision. Yeah. Third, which I find really, really intriguing, is no matter what happens, no enriched uranium, that's got to be found and taken out of the country. That'll be part of the deal. Hormuz will be open in perpetuity. We've got 22 nations talking about supporting that financially. That's just like the Suez or Panama Canal. Great for the region. It's a game changer in the sense that all of a sudden you have stability in the fastest growing part of the earth. It's very, very bullish for world markets. And again, I preface it, I don't like war, but you got to let this play out because the big vision here is to finally stop this problem we've had for 60 years. Right. And I really like that outcome.
Iran has been cheaters on the petrodollar, and they've propped up a whole bunch of countries with that cheap energy.
For decades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Donald Trump, in his speech yesterday, he also addressed a major problem that the United States has with her judges.
To pass a tough new crime bill that imposes harsh penalties for dangerous repeat offenders, cracks down on rogue judges. We got rogue judges that are criminals. They're criminals. What they do to our country, the decisions that they hand down and hurt our country. And I can tell you something, I've gone through it. And the decisions that these people make, I got a decision on tariffs that's going to cost our country, not me, I do it a different way. Going to cost our country hundreds of billions potentially of refunds, giving them back to people that have been ripping off our country because the Supreme Court didn't want to put one little sentence that all money taken in up till the state doesn't have to be paid back. Going to cost us hundreds of billions of dollars. So sad to see. And I could give you plenty of others, too.
Plenty of others. So that's at the Supreme Court level. He went on to basically say Amy Coney Barrett and Gorsuch, who he appointed, he's ashamed of them.
Oh, no.
I mean, he went hard. He's like, they're enemies to our country. I can't believe that they've sided on some of their decisions. Now, Amy Coney Barrett, I understand. But Neil Gorsuch, this is his one bad decision, man. he's good on some other stuff. He was the original Trump appointee. All right, Offerman, Afro Man trial. So we got some information out of the Afro Man trial, and this is a problem that I saw firsthand. The way judges can manipulate juries is a big deal because the juries are sitting there like, you know, judge says, here's the instructions. Here's what you have to do.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah, so one of the odd things at the end of this Afro Man trial is normally the prevailing party gets the other side to pay the attorney's fees, right? So the cops sued Afro Man. He spends a fortune defending himself. He wins. And typically what happens is they're the ones who brought me into court. They now have to pay the bill because they could have just not brought me to court.
Yeah.
So that's part of making me whole. Yeah. Otherwise, lawfare, well, I'll sue you. You spend all the money. Right. And then when I lose, you still spent the money and you're the poorer and the worse for it. Right. And so that's unusual. He said, you each pay your own costs.
No.
That's like, so now they're appealing that. Afro Man's appealing that because he's like, now I got to go to a higher court to do the normal thing that happens 100% of the time. The winner pays the fees.
Okay? Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Afro Man trial. Judges' comments to the jurors after the verdict. This judge had a dog in this fight.
Uh-oh.
Remember that whole team player concept?
Uh-huh.
These cops are the cops that bring cases to his courtroom, drug dealers and, other things. And what is he going to do? He's going to protect the cops. The judge had an in for Afro Man the whole time. And the jury still sided with Afro Man. Well, there was a juror that is speaking, that was telling the backstory on the what is it called?
There was some
podcast. Here it is. I'll let this play.
Speculation during the Afro Man trial that the judge was pretty biased towards the police officers. But apparently what he said behind closed doors to the jury was even worse than what the public was able to see during the trial. A juror agreed to be interviewed anonymously on the Defense Diaries podcast tonight, and here's what she had to say about what the judge told the jury after the verdict was given.
He wanted to know what we got so hung up on. One of the jurors told him it was the actual malice, and he wanted to know if he explained everything good enough, and we told him yes. One of the jurors asked, do you think these songs and videos will stop now? And he said, look at him out there, his big ego, he's loving this and it'll never stop. Or he basically, we knew he didn't like him after that.
So you're telling me that the judge was asking you also kind of what went wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. He should have never asked you guys what you got hung up on. I'm shocked.
All of that's inappropriate. The judge should just be thanking you for your service and your dedication to the case and following the rules, and that's it.
Now, I'm no attorney, and I've never been on a jury that actually went forward to trial, but that seems pretty out of pocket to me. The anonymous juror and Afroman's attorney was also on the podcast tonight. They had lots of interesting things to say, so go take a listen.
Yeah, go Defense DIA podcast is a true crime podcast. That happens everywhere.
Bias exposed.
Bias exposed. Okay, and that jury clearly got the message and basically sided on the defense. But holy cow! Do you think about Judge Ergodon against Trump? You think about my judge, Judge Lambert. You think about Judge Boasberg. You got no chance, right? I mean, it's a rare thing when a jury goes against a judge. The judge sets the stage for him. Yeah. Trump. This is what I was mentioning before, where Trump came out after against his own appointees.
Tremendous amount of money, and the Supreme Court. That's right, of the United States cost our country. All they needed was a sentence. Our country. Hundreds of billions of dollars, and they couldn't care less. They couldn't care less. And not that it matters, doesn't matter at all. But two of the people that voted for that, I appointed, and they sicken me. They sicken me because they're bad for our country. We need a tough new crime bill. Tremendous amount of money.
Wow. They sicken me. They sicken me. What do we got, Ron? Some coffee?
Yeah, some late morning coffee. Let's do it. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Unbelievable. Now's your shot, though. 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler. $170 worth of coffee gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does.
Woohoo! Okay, speaking of the Supreme Court, now, the interesting thing is this Supreme Court has kicked out some really good decisions. Yeah. Right? I mean, they had the one decision, the tariff decision that Trump just cannot tolerate. Okay. And I think he got bad advice from Lutnick to use IPEA instead of initiating the study first. And maybe it was a timing thing, but either way, he got the deals done. The deals are all going to come back. It's all going to be there. Nothing fundamentally changes. But, even in the dissent, Kavanaugh's like, this isn't going to stop anything. It's just going to create a quagmire of refunds, and it has created a quagmire of refunds. But yesterday, the Supreme Court issued a decision that parents are allowed to opt their children out of being indoctrinated with LGBTQ propaganda. So the argument here was, these schools putting in these books, and this is the result of the Harry Potter lawsuits. So the narrative on this is important. As Republicans and as conservatives, we want to stand on principle. Right. And if you stand on principle, then things will work themselves out. But when you violate your own principles, right, on things like free speech and things, stuff like that, then bad things come. And one of the things that conservatives want is local control of school boards, right? So you want to have the power close to the school boards. Well, in the early 2000s, there was a really hit book for young teenagers and kids called Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of evangelicals lost their mind. It's witchcraft. It's demonic. Okay. And they sued different school districts saying that you can't allow those books in school. Harry Potter. Okay. And so they ended up going to the Supreme Court and they lost. There's nothing wrong with Harry Potter. It's a fictional book. It's not even like a satanic book. I mean, it's Hogwarts, for goodness sakes. So anyways, they lost. What that did is it created an issue where now librarians and school districts could put books in school, and parents didn't have any say-so because they, didn't keep their powder dry for when it was obvious and it mattered. And they ended up creating this decade where we have literal cartoon pornography. Porn in our schools, right? With these LGBT books. And I have two dads and how do they make love and all, it's just crazy stuff. And so the Supreme Court heard a case because parents want to opt out of sexual indoctrination and the books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the argument was, well, you can just put your kids in a different school. Why don't you pay for private school? Well, the decision kind of hinged around that. And they said, that's a burden. That's a burden to make people who can't otherwise pay to have to remove their kids from the school entirely and go to a private school.
That's why they're going to public school.
So the Supreme Court decided, as for a huge win for religious liberty, that parents can now opt out of that.
Regarding religious liberty and whether parents should be informed and be able to opt their children out from reading books in the classroom that go against their faith. Shannon Bream is at the Supreme Court. We were watching for this one. What's the verdict?
We were, Dana. So this brought together a coalition of parents of different religious faiths and backgrounds who said there used to be a rule in this particular school district that would let them know when there were books that dealt with issues that may be in conflict with their religious faith. Well, so many parents were opting out that the school board and the school district quit doing it. Well, 6-3 today in a decision by Justice Alito, they said these parents have earned at least a preliminary injunction. So while this case plays out, they said the board has to notify them about a book that's in question or anything similar so that it can be excused if it's in conflict with their faith. He says, as we've explained, without that, parents are left this choice, either risk their child's exposure to burdensome instruction or pay substantial sums for alternative educational services. Because at one point, Justice Jackson during the arguments had said, why don't they just go to a different school? Why don't you put them in private school or homeschool them? Justice Alito and others saying that's not practical for a lot of people. The dissent by Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, says today's ruling threatens the essence of public education. She says it's not about bringing kids together to learn about a particular faith, but a range of concepts and views that reflect our entire society. Exposure to new ideas has always been a vital part of that project until now. The dissenters didn't think that the parents should get the opt-out. Justice Alito and the majority say they should.
And that seems reasonable. You should have been able to just opt out of Harry Potter, but instead they tried to ban books and that backfired on them. So they had to take a different tack now when there was a real book that could, there's a broad consensus or a problem. Donald Trump encouraged Democrats, you've got to stick together.
Will stand with us in record numbers. We have to be strong. We have to be tough. And we can't let these thugs on the other side of the aisle push us around. Because what they're doing right now is wrong. And the public knows it. Now the public knows it. And they're on our side. But you have to fight and you have to be tough. You have to be much tougher. And you have to stick together. Republicans have to stick together. So we won't just re-elect our majorities this November. We'll expose the corruption and radicalism of the Democrat Party. It's a lunatic. It's a party of lunatics. We'll defeat the forces of national destruction. We'll complete our mission of national renewal. And the Republican Party will grow larger, stronger, and more dominant than ever before. We have a chance to do that because we're competing against lunatics, and the public knows it, and they're seeing it every single day. And together with all of you, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And most importantly, we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Republicans. Go out and win the midterms.
Go out and win the midterms. And
Now
the
we can
YMCA
sell 5 or 6 different hats. We got Masa, Mappa, Mawa.
Did I tell you I saw a MIGA hat at Goodwill? Yeah. I thought it was make Iran great again. It was MIGA. I thought it was make Israel great again. It was Iran. Anyways, I thought it was kind of funny. Okay, guys, it's time for us to jump over into the private side for subscription only. If you're not a subscriber, we encourage you to be so. So for those of you that can't join us on Rumble, wow, we are just rocking on X. That is amazing. We got a lot of viewers on X today. So please come on over to Rumble, subscribe. We'd love to have you there. That is our home. And we will talk to you guys again probably tomorrow. We'll see. I am traveling. And if not, we'll see you Monday. But either way, we look forward to talking to you again, and we're going to go over into private, and we're going to talk about some crazy government waste, abuse, and corruption. And we're going to be talking about the Doge Committee, which opened yesterday, headed by Tim Burkhart, one of our actual heroes in Congress. All right, we'll talk to you guys again